What is up, everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Filmmaker's Guide for your smartphone. This is a 7-part series where Caleb and I have been walking you through the process of making a film entirely with your phone. And if you haven't watched the previous episodes, I highly recommend checking them out. The links are in the description below. And if you learned something along this way, let us know in the comments below. But in this episode, I'll be going over filmmaking apps. What did I just say? I'll be going over suggestions on filmmaking apps to use when creating your projects. Yep, that was good. Now, throughout this series, I have touched on several different apps that I use personally and that we both use. So I will go over that again, but there's some new ones I would like to share as well. Pre-production is something we mentioned multiple times throughout the series, and rightly so. Planning your videos out is a very key aspect to making something really good, right? So here are some apps that are just very basic, they're free, and I will talk about a paid app too. But this one I'll just start with is Google Docs. This is an easy way to write out your production, call sheet, script, anything like that. And now you can include teams. So you can actually invite, your director, your producer, all into this doc to kind of hash out a lot of things. This is free. Everybody has access to a Google Mail. We even use Google Docs for a lot of our scripting and pre-production as well. So that's something to check out if you're not using it already. The other thing you could do is just use notes on your iPhone or anything that's equivalent to an Android. Reason being, the newer updates for notes, you can again allow to share these notes so you can do things on the fly together. That's the main point I want to kind of hit on. You want to use apps when it comes to scripting or just organizing all your stuff that allows team building, because team building you can just share out, especially if you're doing these remotely. If you can't do all the filming and recording, or if you can't do all the planning together, you want to find apps that allows you to connect virtually. That's all I'm trying to get at. And lastly, the app that I like to use a lot is Milanote. It is a perfect place to just brain dump and organize your storyboards, call sheets, scripts, anything you need, you can really build in Milanote. So I highly recommend checking that out. Now, in episode 3, I touched on location scouting, and I'm going to reiterate it again. Use apps when it comes to location scouting that tell the weather, time of day, especially sun tracking apps, because if you're looking for a particular scene, for a particular light, you're going to need these tools to see what the weather's going to be like and where the positioning of the sun is going to be. So make sure to download something. I don't recommend exact app. You can use whatever you like. But if those tools are going to help you find the right time of day and the right light, which light is very important whatever you shoot, that is something that you want to keep on your phone and use effectively when you're putting all of this together. But yeah, those are just my suggestions for pre-production apps. If you have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to downloading something and try it out for a few things to see how it'll work in my workflow. But now let's move on to filmmaking apps. Alright, so you can totally use your native camera app or lenses in this case, whether it be iPhone or Android. But the downside of doing that is you lose professional controls. You have no real manual control over your image. Control the shutter speed, control the ISO, even focusing and things like that, or using different lenses like an anamorphic lens. You can't even de-squeeze that in your native app. So this is why it's important to actually use professional apps like, hint, hint, wink, wink, the Pro Camera app that we make. So let's actually jump over to that and I can kind of walk you through the layout and some of the features from that app. Okay, so now we're in the Pro Camera app. This is the best place to get full control over everything about your camera, your ISO, your shutter. You can even drag your shutter. You can use specific lenses for the correct aspect ratio, like anamorphic. And so this is actually better to use than your native camera app because, again, you want control. You want to be able to say, this is the exposure that I want, whatever situation you want to be in. You can also change how high the quality is in our app, which is fantastic. So you can shoot the highest quality you can within the app. So here's a quick navigation. On this side is primarily your settings that you can change: frame rate, resolution, talk about the lens options you can check in here as well, and your flash. Down here at this bottom half, you can see how you can change your shutter speed. You can lock that in, your ISO, even your focal plane, which is pretty cool. You can actually manually focus with your phone with this setting here. So that's pretty awesome. And then of course at the bottom, you could dive into your playback. or more settings to adjust for what you want to do in this app. I highly recommend checking out. If you're not using our Pro Camera app already, worth trying out, 100%. Okay, I'm not in the studio, I'm just in my editing suite right now. But let's just talk about editing apps. Now, you can of course use your desktop or a laptop to edit your footage that you capture on your phone. For those who want to stay nimble and keep moving, this is the portion where I can share a few editing apps that you might want to take a look at. And the first video editing app I want to share with you is actually today's sponsor, Adobe. Adobe offers industry-level creative software for photographers, web designers, musicians, illustrators, and filmmakers. Now, it is a subscription-based service. However, you can pick the right plan to fit your needs. But you gain access to really powerful tools and mobile apps like Lightroom Mobile, Photoshop, and Adobe Rush. Thanks Adobe for sponsoring this video. Now, I will circle back around to Adobe Rush, but I do want to mention a free app for the iOS. You'll be surprised that iMovie is actually a pretty decent video editing software to use on your phone if you want to throw some clips together. Now, it's not the most high-end stuff, but if you need to make a rough cut and get a sequence out, you can totally do that with iMovie. Now, I'm not entirely sure what are the free programs for Android for video editing, but if you know, let me know. I have no idea, but definitely if you're on iOS, if you want something free, that's already built in. You can re-download that, what have you. Totally worth checking out. Now, another app you can totally use, and it's pretty on the pricey side, is LumaFusion. Now, this is probably best utilized on the iPad, iPad Pros, things like that. I think they have an Android version, so you can use your Windows tablets and things like that. But it's a very powerful video app, and they've actually added a lot more features. So that's something to consider as well. Now, getting back to Adobe Rush, this is actually a really great tool as well, especially if you're in the Adobe ecosystem, because now there's integration with the Adobe Rush with Premiere Pro. And so again, if you need to make some quick cuts, some dailies, some whatever you need to do to get your video files in a sequence, you can build that into Adobe Rush and then just export that or share that to the cloud, and then you can take that project file and bring it right into Premiere Pro. And I think that's a very useful tool, especially if you're doing things on location, on the go. You just want to make a quick reel, make a quick sequence, and then you can just continually just work faster that way, and then bring all your assets to your desktop with that project file. You are pretty much golden. So those are some of the things I just want to share with you guys. There's a ton more apps out there I know I'm very aware of, but these are some of the apps that we recommend that we use from time to time. Definitely, if there is something that's out there that you want us to know, make sure to let us know in the comments below. And until next time, guys, keep shooting. Can't wait to see your films. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.